Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Cambridge Inside Out in the most serious tones. I'm Robert Winters.
And Judy Nathans, Judy.
Actually, no, we're not very serious at all, quite honestly.
Well, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
today is Tuesday, May 18th, 2021.
Right.
I always identify that. I think it was May 18th. It was a big ad campaign many years ago for when Dr. Pepper was going to be introduced. Coming May 18th.
Oh my God, you remember
Whenever
that?
May 18th comes around, I think Dr. Pepper, Dr. Pepper.
You want to? I'll show my age. I remember when Channel 7 in the New York City area came on the air. Okay.
WABC.
Yeah. So I'm old, right? I mean, there weren't that many stations back then, right? Remember the Dinosaur Show? It was on for 15 minutes. TV went off at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I'm just talking, I'm ancient. Yeah.
Speaking of ancient.
Yes, happy birthday to Robert. He had his birthday on Saturday, which I didn't even know, but I invited him and his partner, Renee, for a walk, and it really turned out nicely because we got out of town.
What an incredible joy it is to be able to go out of doors on hikes, and a lot of people are still wearing masks.
I know, but we didn't.
We didn't wear masks, and we actually we literally got to smell the flowers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's like these little things, we all kind of repress, we kind of convince ourselves, oh, everything's great. Everything's so great. Everything's great. But it's not until you actually realize actual freedom again that you go, oh my God, we've been living under oppression.
Have you noticed
so long.
I've noticed this a few times because a lot of people are still wearing masks here. But when I go by somebody that isn't masked, we like smile at each other. Because we know, we said, isn't this great? And I actually said something to a woman coming by, she was running. I said, isn't this great? She said, tell me about it. So it's like this camaraderie with the unmasked,
that's true. I think it's also just the relief of having gone through the war. And, I'm often reminded of how my father and my uncle used to talk about war. World War II, and we thought, oh, he's glorifying war, but they weren't. It was just they'd gone through a real,
but we can't. You're not comparing this.
I'm not in. It's not on the same level at all. I mean, people from my generation, they just talk about different drugs they took, and those are their war stories.
What do you think your defining moment of your gen? I mean, you're younger than me. You're about 9 years younger than me. But what is your defining moment?
There are a few. To me,
oh really?
Kennedy assassination.
Well, that for me, I was actually. Yeah, I was like a senior in high school. So
and then it was 1968, pretty much. All of the horror of.
Oh my God, you're right with the convention
assassinations.
And Robert. That's
and
true.
1960.
Oh yeah.
1969, the actual landing of people on the moon.
Those
are like kind of like the big ones.
Yeah,
been a few great adventures since then. I want to assure everyone that I didn't stop right then.
How old were you during the Vietnam War? Because there was a lot of. I went to protests and stuff.
I was a teenager.
You were younger,
fearful that the draft day was going to come, and I was going to have to make some very difficult decisions. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So I used to have nightmares of that.
Yeah, my brother was.
Welcome to True Confessions TV.
No, that's true. My brother served there, and that was not a good thing. Probably affected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By the way, speaking of landing a man on the moon, I've probably mentioned it before, but I was at an event with Larry and Sarah Mae Berman. Larry wrote the software for lifting the spacecraft off the lunar surface.
Yeah.
He told me that the fellow who was doing the descent software lives in Boston.
Okay.
And the person who was in charge of the whole software development for the Apollo mission, Margaret Hamilton, lives on Inman Street, and I walk by her house every day.
Oh, and is she still alive? No.
She's 84 years old. I helped shovel her walk this winter. Yeah.
She was very young when she was involved with this.
Yes, she was. There's this famous picture of little Margaret Hamilton with this gigantic pile of software. But she's a Cambridge. She lives in Central Square. I mean,
wow. That's interesting. I wonder if she ever goes to city council meetings or whatever.
No. I run into her sometimes when she's going to the post office. Yeah.
So you know her?
Not very well, but I've been introduced.
That's nice.
It is nice.
I think there's a lot of famous people that have either lived here, still live here, or have.
Yeah, no, it's great
here.
And again, since the Apollo mission landing on the moon was sort of a pivotal thing for me to actually know the person who was people.
Well, you
who
know
were
what you say that, you know, it was
actively involved.
pivotal for me because I was young enough when Glenn, John Glenn landed on the moon.
Freedom 7.
That was wasn't that one of the first forays into
Godspeed, John Glenn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
No,
was real. Yeah.
When we were kids, we used to
Yeah.
turn like ironing boards and everything. We put Christmas lights and we'd make believe that they were like the control panels on spacecrafts.
You did?
Yeah.
That's
we
so
even had
cute.
a guy where I grew up. It was actually somebody's dad. It was must have been the ultimate father. Actually turned the top of their garage into a spaceship.
No.
Oh yeah.
That is so. You know, I don't think
it was
kids
everything
do that stuff anymore. You know, they don't go and they didn't play in the street. You play.
No, they play video games now.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Right.
That's so cool. I remember the Nixon Kennedy debates in my house. That was big time because that's the first televised presidential debate.
Yeah, I don't. I have no recollection of that.
Right, because you were probably 5, whatever.
That's about right. Yes, exactly.
And everyone knows how old I am now. Meanwhile, let's get back to current activities. We've had 2 city council meetings since we last met, right?
Yes, we did.
Plus budget hearings. Oh, wow.
Two big budget.
Pretty much one just earlier today and one last week, right after the.
Yeah, and then there's one more. Well, in principle,
they finished though?
They should have been finished with except.
It seemed like they were done early. Oh, not the school, but just the regular.
The school department budget is 6 o'clock tomorrow evening.
Okay.
Right. They always allow for an extra meeting if needed, which would be on Thursday, but they very rarely have actually needed that extra day. So
right.
And then it's still a couple of weeks, and then I think the budget, the adoption is about June 7th, thereabouts.
Okay.
So in this, very rarely are there any changes from the proposed budget to the adopted budget, and I don't really necessarily see any changes coming.
Okay.
The budget hearings sometimes turn into kind of political theater.
Oh yeah.
It's the one time when city councilors, who by the planning charter, they're not really supposed to be leaning on department heads, though everybody does a little bit here and there.
This is their opportunity to question department.
Yeah. But the chair, and currently it's Dennis Carlone, and is doing the chair duties, even though it's co-chaired with
Denise,
Ian
right?
and Denise Simmons.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they always caution them. These are only about the budget, counselor.
Right.
Please,
only. They kind of go
restrict your questions to the budget.
Yeah.
But then they go on about what
philosophies
kind of,
Okay.
Sometimes it's because they got no choice because they don't have the opportunity, and this is the only chance they get.
Yeah.
So they kind of squeeze it in there. So there was, I think, some concern last week that it was going to be a big confrontation about the police department budget. Yeah. And there were some testy moments.
But it didn't come to a. Did it?
No,
I didn't listen to the whole thing. I was just listening to it before.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of councilors who still are somehow wedded to the idea that, unless the police department budget just thoroughly caves in, or they, I guess, I don't know that in Cambridge there are too many people seriously proposing, abolishing the police. Yeah. But there is sort of a undercurrent of hostility from some. But I think they kind of got put in their place, and then I think it was 7 votes, I believe, to adopt that budget.
Only 7.
Well, I mean, if there's any, same thing with the information technology budget, because there's the unsettled question about. I mean, last year they didn't even adopt.
Well, I know that.
All,
I remember that. I remember that. That was a unanimous almost. But
let me ask you. This year they passed it without recommendation to the full city council. Yeah, I believe that's the one. I know there was one department where they did not give it favorable.
Regarding the police, because I didn't get that far when I was re-listening to it. There was a question about traffic people not having to be police. What was said about that? You remember?
I don't know that much of substance was said on that count. I know that there was a city council order over this, last summer, where they were challenging the notion that police would do that. Yeah.
Right.
But
I just heard it mentioned. I'll go back and look at it because it was brought up by, I think, Quentin, and I stopped.
I mean, I think that reasonable people, I think, have already kind of come to accept the notion. If you thought that somebody from Public Works or Human Services was somehow going to be doing that job and putting themselves at risk, think again. So it was going to have to be a uniformed police. I'm sure, there is a tendency, and, we saw it a little bit last night, where national rhetoric very quickly trickles down into Cambridge political rhetoric at city council meetings.
It's inevitable. In
the wake of George Floyd incident last year, all of that came bubbling right down into Cambridge.
Yeah, but that was a very American kind of phenomenon.
Yeah, no,
so it had to, right,
it was completely appropriate.
Right,
but it's almost like there's marching orders being given nationally that says, okay, now you have to argue for defunding the police. Now you have to do this. Now you do that. So it's not just reacting to a terrible incident. So
I know. Yeah.
Carrying out an agenda that's being kind of, cooked up and elsewhere. So
this thing though, the last night, the whole Israel-Palestine, I thought the voices, it was over 2 hours of public comment, were very diverse. I thought there were, obviously people that maybe had not, I don't know who even, they weren't coming, they weren't Harvard students per se. I did notice a few names that I had recognized, but
no, I'll give credit to the thing is that about it. I wasn't generally in agreement with what they were saying, but the thing is, I'll give them a lot of credit because what they do is, yes, it is a little bit of public comment is a little bit of political theater, and there was a lot of it was well orchestrated. There was pretty clear that people had sort of been, schooled a little bit on the themes that they wanted emphasized, and people were pretty good about emphasizing and staying on point, so.
But it was a variety of people that have lived here for a really long time, people I knew and people I didn't know, and I'm just saying the whole. So I don't know how it got networked. But
there was one aspect of it which I actually was a little bothered by, though, which is it has nothing to do with the substance of the matter.
Yeah,
it had to do with this. There was multiple people who said, they say you get recognized, and then they read a statement by somebody else. Now, if this was live,
that happened a lot. I didn't think that was allowed.
It isn't.
But we let it go. Yeah.
Discretion of the chair, I guess. The thing is that if I sign up but I couldn't show up, and then you walked in and says, I'm going to speak here and give a statement for Robert Winters, right? They'd say, I'm sorry, no, you can't do that. That's if it was done live. But in this case here, they just waved it on.
So let me ask you, there was comparison made, in fact, Carolyn Hunter even spoke about the Polaroid. Now, I see that, Polaroid had its national headquarters in our city, right?
Yeah, I think the reason for that
to me, that's almost whoa.
Right. Well, Carolyn was involved in organizing this whole boycott thing about Polaroid back in the day. So for those people, and I don't know who is actually kind of, orchestrating all of this, but they obviously have done their homework, and they know some of the people were involved in successful boycotts in years past, and they're trying to draw an analogy, and I think it's a very good strategy. And again, regardless of the merits, I think it's well done.
I really didn't. I guess I'd heard this has come up before about Hewlett Packard, and I have to admit I have an HP printer. I didn't, it wasn't in my head, and I probably have, I have a stock portfolio, and I'm sure there's mutual funds that are in that. I don't know what the impact is on our city, and
probably very little.
Well, I don't know. Are all our printers HP? Do we have, but it's also, the order went a little bit bigger because as a look at all of our connections to corporations that might have, that's a, what do you call that? Not a slope.
Well, if I was,
it can be very,
if I was to take Nancy Glow's job for a moment, as city solicitor. So here I am. Yes, Mr. City Solicitor, would you like to offer an opinion on that? It's that, Chapter 30B, in terms of procurement, doesn't really give you a ton of latitude about these things, So if somebody came in with a low bid, but you didn't like their politics, and you just said, oh, I'm not sorry, I ain't taking you because I don't like your politics. And they could basically come back and say, I'm sorry, that's a violation of state law.
But what if you had an ordinance? Is it something you couldn't have an ordinance about? I don't know.
Well, as long as there's an allowance under state law that gives you that flexibility, and I'm not 100% sure about that. I know that when there have been people asking to divest pension funds in certain things.
Yeah, which is a similar kind of thing. It's like, I don't want our money being put into these organizations.
Right, but then the retirement board people come back and they say, I'm sorry, but
we have to get the best results for
our clients.
pensioners.
And unless there's a state law that gives you the right to put restrictions on this, then we'll take whatever you have to say under advisement, but we can guarantee you nothing.
Yeah, I guess there's less control when it's a government entity or a municipal entity versus a private corporation, or an individual can make those choices. But it's all, it prompted me to send an email to Warren and Markey and Presley too, but about just my own background. Because I think Jewish Americans, and there's more and more of us that hate what's going on and have been, and there's Jewish people in Israel. There are peace movement. There are a lot of people there who do not like what the government's doing. And it's just that the loudest voice here is AIPAC and all that. But anyway, so let's go on. But just wanted to make my peace with that. And then in this instance, maybe because it's more personal to me, I did not mind all that. Where it goes, I don't know.
Well, but both of the orders that were kind of that theme,
they were charter.
One was a resolution when Patty Nolan exercised her charter right.
Right, because she felt Jews that celebrated whatever.
Well, at least one or two people actually said, well, this is very inconvenient time for some of us.
I know.
So in other words, part 2 next week, or I guess the next week. I guess when is Memorial Day?
Oh, wait a minute. Memorial Day is next week, because Memorial Day is late
so it'll be
the
Monday after that. By the way, there was a special city council meeting scheduled for May 26th at noon. Now I have to tell you,
is this new? When did that
It's been
happen?
on the calendar for a bunch of days now. But the thing is, here's the thing:
well,
see, everybody loves to talk about transparency. There's absolutely no mention what the purpose of the special city council.
Maybe it's about
is.
COVID.
I doubt it.
Oh, everything's opening up though, the 29th.
I know, but I think this has been listed since before that. So,
really?
I didn't. My guess was that they were talking about bringing in these people on charter review at some point, and maybe they found a time to bring in the charter review people, and they're going to have a presentation or something at a
the Collins Center, right? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now I have no idea. All I can do is guess. I've been toying with the notion of people talk about transparency. I think we have to talk about it in the spirit of translucency, meaning it's sort of see-through, but maybe not exactly,
All right.
Because, I don't know, it's a problem. Honestly, there's a number of ways in which we profess to be transparent and accessible, where in fact, I'm going looking for things on the, I'm reasonably well informed, and I have an awful hard time finding some things that sort of breaking through the wall of the city government sometimes. Not because they're fighting me, it's because it's just terribly organized, or some things are, or just somebody forgot to mention what they were meeting for or whatever.
I don't know. I don't know. Whatever.
So anyway, a couple of other things.
A
mention from the budget hearings, not so much today. I have it marked down what they were doing this morning, but there was one small matter, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Somebody took issue, at least one city council, maybe more, took issue with when the city manager's office budget, the office, city manager's office was up, about why we hadn't, and I think it was during that period, or it could have been under employee benefits as well, when they said how somebody seemed to think it was bothersome that when Lisa Peterson, who was deputy city manager, retired, which was, I think, early at the beginning of this year, the position has not been advertised or filled. And they somehow had this notion that, with the manager's contract is set to go just till next year, and shouldn't we have a deputy city manager in place to take over when the manager one day when the manager leaves or whatever, as if the deputy city manager is automatically the heir apparent.
And they're equating it with like being vice president.
Yeah,
and
but
it's
so
not,
I just
right?
want to inform folks who are a little unclear about this. There's no mention of a deputy city manager position in the planning charter. And it hasn't always existed. I mean, if a city manager decides that it would be a good thing to have a deputy city manager to handle a lot of matters, then they can create the position of deputy city manager, right? But there's nothing mandatory about it even existing. The way it really is supposed to work, and has worked in the past, is that if for whatever reason either the city manager was fired or passed away or whatever, or contract expired and they didn't have somebody in place, the way it works is anyone who has the designation of an assistant city manager, which includes numerous department heads, like from public works, human services, community development.
Right.
Yeah, they're all listed as assistant city manager in charge of, so not all department heads are assistant city managers. I want to point that out.
Yeah.
Right, the assistants, the head of the Peace Commission, for example, is not an assistant city manager.
Okay.
Right, but Ralph Dunphy was Commissioner of Public Works, stepped in and was acting city manager for I think about 6 months or something at one point, and that's how it's done. So yes, if you had a deputy city manager, then that person would be qualified under state law to be acting city manager. But Owen O'Riordan, Ellen Seminoff, you name it. Iram Farouk, from Community Development Department, and that's not it. No, I don't think.
They have enough on their plate, right?
Right, but the thing is that just as a person to step in and assume the duties, it's all set. So, I mean, part of the way they manage the budget through the COVID crisis has been to leave positions unfilled during this fiscal year, and even the end of last fiscal year. And that worked out to be a rather important part of how they navigated through the incredible loss of revenue. And that, I don't know if we talked about this 2 weeks ago, but we still don't know what the real estate tax abatement story is going to be, because there were a lot of very low or non-performing commercial properties who, if they got hit with their tax bill based on what they were, as opposed to what they've been just this past year, it would be pretty unfair. So there may be a rash of abatement applications. We'll see. But loss of revenue means that and a lot of fees and things, hotel, motel tax fees, everything was just, a lot of that stuff was waived or greatly reduced. So, they've navigated through pretty well. I mean, I give credit to the finance people and the budget director. I think they did a good job getting through all of this. But anyway, so right now we don't have a deputy city manager, but that's not a big deal. I think the city's functioning okay. And if this or the next city manager feels the need, then they'll create the position again. So now I don't know how many other sort of major items were part of that budget. I mean, I have notes somewhere about it, but there was a big controversy, the continuing controversy about the digital equity study and the municipal broadband proposal, and why is the city manager dragging his feet?
The RFP, you mean, for the feasibility study to do?
Yes, and I thought the head of IT was actually very, very good. I'm actually slipping on his name right now.
Not communications, the head of IT. Who's that?
Yeah,
it's not Lee Giannetti. That he's
no. But really kind of laid out some of the. He's obviously quite expert on this matter.
Oh, I should go listen to that, because I didn't see that whole piece at all. So.
It was actually pretty good,
Okay.
and
so
right now
do you remember what he said?
Basically, I said, so why did the city focus more on the digital equity side of things?
Because that's actually really important.
That is actually the more important.
I mean, people that really need access that either don't, I mean, I guess the $10 essentials, it is there and it's underutilized. However, some people, whatever, there's questions about it, but let's get those buildings. A lot of it was the digital equity study looked at the Cambridge Housing Authority, those buildings. Right. I mean, that to me is like, get that done.
Yeah, I
Let's
mean,
do
if
that
municipal
first.
broadband
Yeah.
is being promoted primarily for
Yeah.
some employee of Google to have another option,
Yeah,
that's not really a compelling argument
I mean,
for
we
it.
all would like other options. We do have a monopoly.
Yeah,
It is
and
true.
actually, Judy,
However, yeah,
you have
what?
very much pointed out one.
Oh, about the TV.
Yeah, the thing is, they always keep
Yeah,
talking about
I know.
municipal broadband, but the
I
thing
know.
is those
Yeah.
of us who, right now, I am a
Mhm.
Comcast customer
Yep,
right
yep,
now,
yep.
you know, and
Mhm.
yes, like triple play, you know,
Yeah.
phone, television, internet, right?
Right.
I never hear any of them ever talk about
I
cable
know.
TV.
Oh, well, you can stream this,
And
stream
this,
that. But meanwhile, I know, and even in that report, it said, and one person was paying $200 a month, and they felt, but they probably, because they had the TV, and yes, that it can end up being near 200 if you want all, I mean, the bells and whistles. But you're right, it's never brought up that those very same people that you want to be able, they also like their cable television. They're not going to go
right.
streaming all these separate platforms, Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime. I mean, maybe they probably Hulu. I mean, I can do that. I mean, Netflix does come with Comcast. I don't know why you don't get it, but you should check with them. And
I'm not very technologically proficient.
oh yeah, right. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that is an issue that, I mean, it didn't even, I mean, that, I guess it didn't have to be in the digital equity study, but that wasn't even brought up. I was trying to find stats about that because it said, well, how many do you do this? Do you do that? But there wasn't much
Right.
about, there was
Well,
something watching TV, but I just think,
on this topic, I'll just say one other thing, which is
yeah.
that
Oh, you know
I think
what? Oh yeah, we only have
we're almost done
oh, I
with it.
just realized
But,
that. Yeah.
you know, even a
Continue,
year ago, the intertwining of the municipal broadband
Yeah.
slowness and the city
Yes.
manager,
Yeah.
they're still playing that rhetorical
I know.
game, you know.
All right.
So
yeah.
it's
Okay.
not just about
No.
municipal broadband at this
No,
point.
they
It's
just
about the
feel-
relationship between the
Exactly.
council and the manager.
That's
I
true.
mean, let's be
All
clear
right.
about that. So
All right. Well, we can, maybe say a couple more words about that because it's going to definitely be a big issue.
okay.
All right. So we
See you in
will
a
see
few on
you
Cambridge Inside
in
Out.
a few. Bye.